Hey guys. Okay, let's talk about how to avoid your bank account being frozen. So a lot of videos out there telling you what not to do. How about what to do? Right? Because it's a lot easier to say what not to do, which is a lot. It could be don't breathe, don't trade crypto, don't do anything wrong. Don't take your bank card out, things like that. How about what you should do so you actively avoid this? Because I'll tell you what, if everybody knew what to do when the account gets frozen, it won't be a surprise. But we want to find out what to do because your bank account is a relationship as well. So what to do to avoid that? We'll talk about that in this video. So again, that's my background. I'm CEO of a fintech called Orukka. So Orukka is a smart payment ring. It allows people to make payments just by tapping to make payments. I've been in banking for about 20 years, so I do know what I'm saying. Not social media influencer, as you could see from the views, but I spend time with my customers. I think that's key. And CEOs should do a lot more of that. So if someone's not, it works in finance for years and is not talking to the customers, there's a problem somewhere. I say that because again, I advise a lot of banks. I have friends that are banks and they're bankers. And then the first thing they say is, oh, I don't want to be out there, but you need to be out there. You're talking to customers. If you're not talking to customers, what are you doing? I'll tell you what, you're in meetings. I could tell you. So when I was in banking just a few months ago, I was always in meetings for about, good 70 to 80% of my time. So you're always in meetings. You're always talking to regulators. You're talking to investors. If an investor calls you, you're going to be there like that. Okay. But please spend time with your customers. So that's a huge rant, but it's related to this. Okay. Spend time with your customers. Know what matters. What matters are your customers. How you treat them is what matters. That's the topic of this video. Okay. It's a lot, a lot of people, and it's a huge frustration when that happens. I have a video just here, about fraud, and how to stop fraud. So it's good to know that that's what banks, if eventually that's what they try to do. So there's always two. Either they're trying to avoid and stop fraud going on your account, or just incompetence where they don't care about the customers that much. But this happens a lot more. Okay. So it's not, when this happens to you, don't feel bad because it happens a lot more. So I have some stats here as well that, my team provided. In the UK, it is 0.2% to 3.4% of all customers that are terminated every year, suspended. Okay, so that's at least 2% of people every year where the account is just frozen, closed. Okay, 2%, that's a lot. That's about, if you look at a typical customer base of a bank where they have 10 million customers, that's 200,000 customers. So it happens a lot more than you think. Okay, when it happens to you, don't feel bad. Don't think it's just you. It happens to everybody and anyone. Okay, it can happen to, as long as you're not the CEO of that bank, it could happen to you. Especially, again, staff generally would have their accounts with the same bank. But if you don't, then the bank doesn't know you. And that's always the case. If they don't know you, then there's always a concern that that might happen to you. In the EU, I think it's a lot higher. In the EU, we have about a good, 7% or 8% that are actually closed, frozen by for some reason. EU a lot more stricter there. But how about the US? The US numbers were not that clear, but apparently 80,000 savings and checking accounts complaints last year were because the accounts were frozen and closed. I think the key theme here, if you can see, is it happens a lot. Let's talk about Brazil, okay, because it's not just developed world, developing worlds as well. So in Brazil, there were about, 80%, 80%, sorry, 30,000 complaints about customers closed just in Q4 alone. That's a quarter, okay? So you can basically double that. That's 120,000 complaints. Or if you quadruple that, that's 120,000 complaints over the course of 2024 where customers accounts were closed. What's the point I'm trying to make there? Listen, it happens a lot more than you think. Okay. So when it does happen to you, don't think it's just you. Don't think, oh my God, I'm going to get on the phone and talk to them because there are about 200,000 customers, give or take, that also have the same issue. So that's one thing to watch out for and just know, okay, that it's not just you. I think, again, just some sort of empathy there. Know that it's not just you. That happens to a lot more people than you think. Then the reasons why, I think, again, just over my years of working in banking, and I've worked in the front office, back office, again, middle office operations, control. Then I've done business analysis for controls and also for regulatory reporting. And most of the things that would cause it would be, maybe, if your account is inactive. That happens a lot. Again, we know what happens there. So accounts are inactive. That causes that. And then also the point then becomes direction from courts, from regulators that you usually know. Okay, so you wouldn't be surprised if you got on a call and they say, hey, your account is blocked because of this court case. You know, because you knew about the case at least. And usually the court, again, it takes months to even get those accounts to be blocked. They actually have to write to the bank. The bank have to review, make sure it's the right customer, make sure the signatures are correct before they block those accounts. So that's key to note. I think that's some good thing to think about, right? The banks will usually not do that or block those accounts easily. And on the other side as well, when the derivative or the direction comes from the court, whoever is on the phone would usually state it straight away. If you're beside the phone or behind the phone and it's come through, you can tell the reason is clear, court case, blah, 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 or regulatories, counter tax, blah, 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 anything. And there's usually a reason why, and that's it. So that's straightforward. Again, with those ones, you don't have to worry because you know the case. Right? So if it's, inactivity, you know it's there as well. So it's a lot of inactivity there, and then you know that's the case. Okay. However, how about the less court cases? That's the concern here. So less court cases will be suspicion of KYC issues, suspicion of anti-money laundering issues, suspicion of going into territories that are already under sanction, or PEP. PEP are politically exposed persons, which is even worse because if if your second uncle is the president of Uruguay and for some reason Uruguay are under sanction, you're under sanction and you don't even realize it. You might not even be getting any money from Uruguay government. Or guess what? Because of the name, because of the association you're in there. So that's an issue. So the point I'm trying to make there is the fact that there are really, really like vague reasons where banks need to act, and usually they don't know as well. So what usually happens, I can tell you, is that you go in, a flag comes up, and when that flag comes up, it comes to the customer service rep. And all they do is just block the account, and it's more frustrating because they're not obliged to tell you. So if it's like an FBI interrogation or when there's a court case going on, you're not allowed to speak about it because it could be tipping off, or you could actually incriminate the person or yourself. So that's the fear why when you get in touch with these people, they can't talk. They just say, hey, it's been escalated. And then the next point becomes, where does it go? So imagine what I just said at the start of the video. There are about 200,000 customers. So what that means, that's gone up to someone who's actually reviewing a lot of customers as well and trying to find out what's going on, what's behind this and why, and then seeing if they can escalate it as well. And sometimes it goes all the way to the chief risk officer to review and agree or not, or just block the accounts. Again, it takes months, these things. Are they allowed to do this? Okay, so again, I repeat, should they? Yes, because of the fines. Okay, so banks are scared as you are. They would get fined if for some reason something has gone wrong, and it happens a lot in banking where someone just brushes aside the issue and says, "Hey, just release the money." That goes on to buy them months, years down the line. So people try and avoid as much as possible in banks. Again, it's really frustrating because I repeat, banks can be more humane. So the person behind that phone should be more humane. But again, at that point, they only care about their jobs. So just understand that as well, that this person just doesn't know, he doesn't want to be fired. So they just care about their job and will just be blank or just give you a standard answer over and over again, which is frustrating. I wish more banks would just be more humane in their responses, be a lot more black and white, to say, hey, listen, this is what's happened, this is what we need to do, and this is the escalation part. That's important. Customer needs to know that. So I think hopefully we can do a lot more of that, especially in the banking world. Um, I'm not going to say who to blame here, but we know, right? So the bigger a bank, I think the more likely this is going to happen. So you can't see a small bank going through this. If you're a small bank, if you're a small fintech app like we are, by small, I mean, it's still big though. But like a big bank would be someone like, New Bank, we've got like 100 million customers, or Revolut, I think they just crossed 50 million customers. Multiply how many issues they have there. So I'm not trying to say they're greedy by having so many customers. People want to go with banks that have a lot of customers. Here's my advice: don't. Yeah. So this is the point. So if you put money in the bank, you get your money back straight away, and you're protected as well. So you should not run to banks that are big, because the bigger the bank, the more the issues, and the more the issues, the more they have to investigate. And when they investigate, that takes time. So that takes me straight into what to do, okay, to make sure. Like, so what do you actively do? Point number one, which I've already maybe touched on already, in case you haven't picked up on that, is one, don't have one bank account. Okay, you're not married to a bank. And I say this over and over again. Your bank is not your wife. You're not cheating on your bank if you go to another bank. So have multiple bank accounts. Okay. Used to be a big deal those days to have an offshore account, a multiple account, a fintech. No, now you can have as many as possible. It takes a second. I mean, our cards, if you order our rings right now, in 1 week you have your ring. If you go to a fintech app right now, you can open up the fintech 1 hour, 2 hours, you're validated, you're in, right? So why should you sit in one bank? Okay, so I repeat, I've said this already several times. If you're a couple, okay, you should have 5 banks. If you're a single person, have 4, okay? Because your money comes into your bank, comes in straight away as your salary. You don't have to leave it there because, again, you're just giving them free money. Put into a savings account. So find out what your savings account is, put some savings in there. And you're saving your current account, make sure it's there, and make sure you pay your rent, your bills, and everything from there ASAP. And direct debit, okay? That gives you a savings. Your retirement account always have an extra that you put in there. Again, these things doesn't have to be the whole world. It has to be small amounts. You start from somewhere. Don't worry about 5%, 10% yield per annum or high interest yield accounts until you get sophisticated enough. Just learn the discipline first. Be disciplined to put a small amount somewhere first into your savings account, even smaller amount into your retirement account. Okay, those are your 3 accounts. How about your pay yourself account? Again, that's the issue we have. If your bank account is frozen, you can't just go to work. You can't go into a coffee machine. Why? Because it's frozen. Have a different account for pay yourself. So our rings fall under your pay yourself account because what happens? These are your rings this is what you spend every day. So what happens as soon as you get 10,000, you should put X amount into a ring or into a small app that you spend every day. Okay, that you don't bring out wherever you are. That's important for 2 reasons. Number one, if you have to go to work and your main account is blocked, you can tap and pay and go. If you have to go buy coffee, you have to buy food, your main account is blocked, you tap and go. But the problem, okay, if someone steals your account, which is again could be your primary account, don't worry about that because you've got your ring or you've got a small app that you use for your day-to-day expenses. So keep a separate account for that. Okay. And then if you're a couple, have 2 because you don't want to be using the same account that your wife is using to just go buy coffee or to just buy a sanitary product. She doesn't need to run this by you. Same thing as well. You don't need to run your things by her. So have some account that say, okay, this is your allowance, $100, $200, whatever it is every month or every week, every day. So be it. And that's for 2 of you to use. Second down, you have your retirement account, savings account, and a checking current account. Okay, but have those accounts. That spreads your risk. Finance, we all know about diversification of risk. Guess what? Same thing as well. You have to diversify your bank accounts. Do that, okay? Do that actively. Drop this as soon as you're done with this video. Go open multiple accounts. Make sure you have different bank accounts, okay? Second point then is the bank is, call it, I don't want to use the word parent on them, right? But banks are almost like parents where they need to know what you're doing. They need to understand what you're doing for regulatory reasons as well. So they have parents above them, which are the regulators. So what that means then is if for some reason you've never ever done anything related to crypto and for some reason you're getting a crypto payment that's coming, that's irregular straight away, okay? Then one thing, they have to block it. And number 2, they find out what's going on there, okay? They need to look into, they're obliged to look into that. They are regulated. Same thing as well. If for some reason you're always in the US, for some reason, boom, you go over to Afghanistan, and then go to Syria, and then go to Nigeria, that's my country. You go to Ghana, and go to Mozambique, and then you come back the next day. Trust me, that account is going to be blocked immediately because there's a lot of irregularity or abnormality. Sometimes automatic from AI these days. AI will pick that up immediately and go, hey, block the account. And then someone needs to investigate him. Same thing as well. For some reason, again, you've always received, your salary comes in, is always 10,000 every month, 10,000. And then guess what? One month you get a payment for a house that you've been working on for the last 1 year. And then you get paid 200,000. It's just coming to the account. Damn, that's a problem because 10,000, 10,000, 200,000, 10,000, 10,000. That's going to be blocked. So what do you do? Okay. Advise the account. They're humans. Tell them, hey, I'm expecting this money to come in. That's it. It's not a big deal, but you have to do it in advance. You have to remember to do it. Again, like I repeat, take it as your parents, or take it like someone's holding money for you and trying to protect you as well. Because they want to protect you. They want to protect, the country. They want to protect their license. So therefore, they need to make sure that, hey, whatever is coming in is of the behavior and the pattern that they are used to and is automatically tracked as well. Okay, if you've been working on a deal for a house and that's going to come into your personal account, not your business account for some reason, don't worry. Just tell the bank, hey, I've been working on a house deal. Might come through the next one. Put notes on the account that's coming through. Simple. It used to be those days, I think with fintech where you had to withdraw over $1,000, you had to go queue up. Put a like in this video if you remember that. Some of us are that old. But then I remember I had to go buy my first car in Ireland. Then we had to go to the head office in Dublin city center to withdraw. I think it was 10,000 then for me to buy my BMW. I love that car. But I worked hard for that. And for that to happen, I had to tell the bank in advance. I had to go withdraw the cash, hold the cash, go over to the garage, count the cash and pay. That's how it used to be those days. Now there's a lot of electronics going around. Okay, everything is done remotely, online. However, it's still there. So if you need to do something that's crypto related, that's outside your usual pattern, advise the banks in advance. That's easy. Okay. And then lastly, then I think just understand, like I've said at the start, these guys are human. So they are as scared as you are. If you understand that, that means when someone asks you, hey, where's this money going into? You understand why they're asking. They are humans. They want to find out what's happening because of their job, because of their license. Don't be um I think it's frustrating. So don't be frustrated to have to explain it because you think, oh, it's my money. I should be able to do it. Yes, it's your money, but it's going through them. It's going through their license. They'll be fined even more to let that money go through without questioning it. So that's one thing to understand as well. Please, guys, while it's frustrating, but advise them, and if they ask these questions before it gets to that, just talk to them. Certain information is needed. And it's not like you're being held captive or anything. It's just, again, like it's a license, is what's required. There's a lot of talk about crypto, which I think I'll talk into a special video on that one. If that's going to stop all this, that's true. But also, they've got some bad side as well, where, some downsides on crypto side that doesn't really resolve this. And but I've said three things, okay? Three things. Number one, pre-advise your bank when things are going in and out of your account that's not is outside the ordinary, and you know what's outside the ordinary, right? Then number two then is your multiple accounts. Make sure you have multiple accounts so you're not left stranded, because these things happen at least 2 to 3% of us every year. It happens to. And then lastly, just know these guys are humans. When they ask these things, they're not asking because they hate you. They're asking you because they're scared, actually, because they're scared of their jobs. They're scared of doing the right thing they need to do. That's why they ask this information. So don't be frustrated when you ask. Take care, guys, and see you in the next one.